tab first. Now, if you ever need a reminder of what each of these fields represents, simply hover your mouse over the question mark and a little tooltip will appear. Let's take a look at each of these fields in a little more detail. The first field is the profit per deal. This is the amount of money you want to make as a result of this deal. In essence, this says if you sold the property at full market value, how much money would you expect to make after you factor in the purchase price of the property plus your expenses? The next field is the desired ITV, the investment to value ratio, which is also referred to in this business as the loan to value ratio. Think of it like this. What percentage of the market value of the property are you willing to spend to acquire the property, including expenses? So if a house had a market value of say $100,000 and your investment to value ratio was set to 65%, then you are effectively saying this: I'm willing to spend up to $65,000 to buy and fix up this property. This leaves you with a profit of $35,000, assuming again that you sold it at the full market value of $100,000. The next field is the maximum asking discount. This is a variable that BirdDogBot uses to ignore deals that require a purchase price that are much too far below the asking price. For example, you could find a property that's only a deal if you bought it for $100. In this case, you probably wouldn't bother making such an offer on the property, so you're telling BirdDogBot to just ignore it. The higher your max asking discount, the more deals BirdDogBot will return to you. Personally, I like to use 40%. So let's say again that the asking price of a given property was $100,000. When I set my max asking discount to 40%, I'm effectively telling BirdDogBot, listen, if I have to make an offer of less than $60,000 on this $100,000 property, it's probably not going to get accepted anyway, so just ignore it and let's move on to the next one. The next 6 fields are the expense estimates you expect to incur as a result of holding the property until you flip it, or possibly even if you just decide to hold it. Now, these are broken down into 6 different separate categories so that we could kind of fine tune each one of these after the fact, or even if it just helps you make your estimates a lot easier. This will make a lot more sense when we actually get to the deal details page, but for now, these are the estimates that you need to look at, and these are the values that I typically use when I am searching for a deal using BirdDogBot. So let's take a look at the details page and see what happens when we actually find a deal based on these numbers here. So in a previous search, we found this particular property here in Atlanta, Georgia. Now I am going to just expand my window here so that you can get more of it into the screen here. And as we see, this is the property that we found, and we are going to move down to this property research area. So you'll see that Zillow has estimated this property here at $64,600. Now this link here is clickable so that you can verify it if you want. So here's the property on Zillow, and there is the Zestimate right there of $64,600. And you'll also see when we go back is that Zillow estimates that you can get $890 a month rent for this property as well. So let's go back to our deal details page here, and that is exactly what we see over on this side here as well. The rental income is $890. So let's move down to the business plan, and down here these were the expense estimates that you could recall that we estimated. So we had estimated 15% for rehab and repairs, and that works out to $9,690. So we're talking 15% of the $64,600, and the rest of the numbers are all broken down as well. So we would have a total expense estimate here of $20,995. So here's how this deal breaks down. We're expecting to have expenses totaling roughly $21,000. Based on that and the fact that we wanted to make a $30,000 profit, that means that the most we can afford to pay for this property is $13,605, such that we would get a $30,000 profit. So let's take a look back up here, and we see the price of this property is $17,500. So putting in an offer for $13,605 doesn't seem to be too unreasonable. So now when you add in your expenses of $21,000 roughly and your purchase price of $13,600, your total investment on this property would be $34,600, which works out to being 53.6% of the $64,600. Again, this is our desired investment to value ratio. And if you recall, our investment to value ratio we had set was 65%. So we're looking for something where we're going to pay less than 65% of the market value. And if all these numbers hold true for us and everything goes according to plan, we could expect to make an 86.7% return on our investment on this particular deal. Now, getting these estimates from Zillow is a good start. It's like drawing a line in the sand of what we think that this property is worth. But the reality is Zillow is never 100% accurate. In fact, nobody is ever 100% accurate because it's all just opinions. So what we can do is we can actually fine-tune our market value estimates by clicking on this little plus here. This little pop-up here will appear. And in the first field, we're going to enter our source. This is the source of this information. So let's say, for example, we went to our realtor. And the realtor told us, you know, I think that property would probably sell for, let's just say, $66,000. Now, if you have a URL that you want to use as well, so you can possibly link to it, you can add it as well. But for now, we're just going to leave it blank because we're just making this one up. So once you save that, you'll notice that we've added our realtor estimate here of $66,000. This changes our estimated market value to $65,300 because all this is doing is simply taking an average of these two prices here as well. And you'll also notice that based on this average, our expense estimates have changed and all our numbers below have changed as well. Now let's say this seems like a deal that you want to pursue. You actually got a professional appraisal done and the appraisal came back. So we'll create a new one. We'll say appraisal here. And then let's say the appraiser says, you know what, these guys are estimating a little bit too high. I think this property is only worth $60,000. So again, you'll notice that we've taken the average of the three prices, and once again, our expense estimates have changed based on all of this information as well. And you can obviously do the same thing for rent. So let's say our realtor, once again, has estimated that we could probably only get $850 a month for rent for this property. Now currently the rents are just here more for a reference as opposed to being factored into the calculation, but again, it's nice to see what we could expect. So let's scroll down a little bit more, and let's say after doing some due diligence, we realize that, you know what, our expenses aren't exactly the way they are. So what we can do is we can click on the little pencil and we can update that. So we may realize that, you know what, this property is in better shape than we thought, and we only need, say, 10% for rehab, and let's say as well that our closing costs actually were about 8% of the $63,000 that we've estimated. So then we could click save as well, and when we scroll back down, you'll notice that our rehab estimate has changed to 10% of the $63,500. And once again, all our numbers have changed as well. Also, if we scroll down a little bit more on this details page, you'll notice we have a little offer strategy here that we could use. So in this case here, our maximum purchase price that we're willing to pay such that we get our $30,000 is $15,426. Now, we probably don't want to go in with our maximum price, as we all know in negotiating. So